All right, so we're watching we're doing another game design react, where we're watching Bethesda's game design was outdated a decade ago. A new video from NakeyJakey where he talks, I'm assuming mostly about Starfield. So yeah, I mean, I'll start by just saying, like I've been wanting to talk about Starfield for a while now, and I'll start by just saying a little bit my little thoughts about Starfield, like condensed, and then we'll watch the video. So in essence, for me, what Starfield did wrong. There's two issues. There's two main issues that I have with Starfield. So basically, Starfield works in the same formula that the previous game worked, but it fails in two aspects. Uh, One, which is that it doesn't manage to make the world feel alive, mostly because it really, in a way, it almost just isn't. Like for example, if you go uh, to the main city in New Atlantis, for example, most of the NPCs that you encounter are random NPCs with no actual life, no one, like no interaction with them, nothing, right? Just like random NPCs that have been spawned there just to make it feel like it's populated, but they don't have like an actual name or anything. So that already is kind of weird compared to other Bethesda games, studio games. Like the other thing is that all shops and everything are all up open all the time. Like it doesn't matter what time it is, so it makes it feel again less alive. Like it's understandable because it's kind of like the future. You could potentially understand that things are open for longer. I don't know if the NPCs change in the sense if you go to like the weapons shop or whatever. Is the the shop clerk, does it change? Is it a different NPC depending on the time? Because that could maybe explain it. At least I didn't feel like it was. So for me, it just felt like, you just go, it's a city, you go to the shop, blah, blah, blah. And it becomes less of a actual world. It's more like a game shop. It becomes more of a game compared to previous Bethesda games in a way. And the other thing that it fails is that in other games, the world is set up so that you stumble upon quests and you stumble when walking around, when exploring, you stumble upon quests and upon interesting location that you want to explore, and that trigger a new quest and you start a new adventure that you didn't expect to be on because you were just going to this other place to do some other thing, right? And this is completely removed, almost completely removed in Starfield, because the travel becomes pretty much just fast traveling all the time. And even though, yes, sometimes when you go to certain locations, especially if you go to systems that you haven't been to before, then suddenly when going to a specific place, you stumble upon a space station that has been destroyed, and then you explore it or whatever, and you have a kind of side quest in that space station that wasn't in your plan initially. You were going to this specific moon or whatever to do these other quests, and you ended up doing other things. But this happens very scattered. Like it almost never happens, basically. And then the other thing is that when you actually go to a planet or to planet surface or a moon surface, the different locations that spawn feel like they're all the same. Like sure, you can go to a specific to one of those locations that appeared, and there might be like a quest related to it. But most of them are very like basic run of the mill quests that are pretty much not interested. So as soon as you've done like a couple of them, you don't feel the interest of going to them, and those locations are all very similar as well. So whenever you find like a research station, you go to a completely different place in the system in the universe, right? To a different solar system, different moon, blah blah blah, and you're gonna have the exact same research station. You're gonna have the same rooms, the same buildings, and everything, and it's just going to it kind of always removes that interest of like exploring and finding these locations. It's no longer, oh, you find this place, oh, I want to go and I want to find and I want to explore it, and it's like, oh, this is a new place, I'm going to see how it is, right? Which happens in every other Bethesda games. In this one, it's just like, oh, this is the exact same research station I found some other place, probably going to have a similar quest, and it usually does. So at some point you just stop doing it. So yeah, so that's basically the issue with it. I don't necessarily think that Starfield is necessarily very bad. I am at this point mostly looking at what are they going to add in DLCs that might make it more worthwhile, or maybe, make me check the game again. But for now, I'm just just pretty much, I was done with it like a while ago. And yeah, of course, I haven't explored everything, like the whole loop system, whole new game plus thing. It is interesting. Apparently, there are some interesting variations between kind of parallel universes, I guess. But yeah. Anyways, like I feel like the game itself. Like I hope that with mods and with the DLCs, they're gonna manage to uh, pull it out of what it is right now and make it a better game. So yeah. Anyway, so that's basically it, and we'll see what NakeyJakey has to say about that as well. All right, so let's see what he has to say.
I have made not one, but 2 separate videos claiming that Blank's game design is outdated. And while I'm very proud of those videos, and I pretty confidently stand by those critiques, I wasn't planning on ever using the same outdated title again because I just didn't want it to become this gross YouTuber-y series where I'm just the outdated guy.
What is up, gamers? Welcome back to part 39 of Outdated Stuff. Today, we're going to be taking a look at this expired banana on my counter. If that ain't outdated, then you better call the dog catcher, because it must be raining cats and dogs out here. But when thinking about the past 10 years of Bethesda Game Studios' catalog, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, a billion more versions of Skyrim, and now Starfield,
there is not a more succinct or accurate word to describe how I feel about these games.
Like, if you think, like, he talks about Fallout 4 and Fallout 76. Fallout 4 is fine. Like, a lot of people didn't like it as much, but I think it's a good improvement from specifically Fallout 3, obviously, because Fallout New Vegas was made from a different company, but whatever. And even though you could argue that Fallout New Vegas is still better, Fallout 4 was a good game. It's still a good game. They really tried to add more content with this outpost building and stuff, which is not necessary. Like, again, it's not necessarily something, you could remove that from the game and it would still be a good game, to be honest. But yeah, I think Fallout 4 is still fine. Like, it was made a couple of years, I don't know how many years, after Skyrim, and it was good. It was good. It's just that from Fallout 4 to Starfield, I'm not mentioning Fallout 76 because it's a different game. Okay, it's an MMO. It works differently in a lot of aspects, even though it is very similar in some ways. It's a different type of game. So I don't think you can put it in the same box as the single player games. But from Fallout 4 to Starfield, a lot of time has passed, and they, in my opinion, they took the same formula, applied to Starfield, and that made it worse in many ways from the things that I've mentioned before.
I have personally made things that some people did not like and criticized, and that's great. Honestly, that's fine. That's exactly how it should be. Why am I saying that right now?
just to say that I know what it feels like. I want to make it clear that I have a lot of respect and appreciation for the hardworking individual devs that crunch 12-hour days to release AAA games on time that we all get to play.
Thank you for making video games, everyone who makes video games out here in the prairie.
So I promise I don't mean to be hyperbolic or dramatic just for the sake of it when I say I am truly baffled by Starfield. It is seriously shocking to see just how little this game attempts to improve or even successfully reuse the same formula and same Frankenstein game engine that Bethesda have been selling to their fans for well over a decade.
Like, about the game, we do have to mention that, yes, they haven't improved in many ways. When you look at how the companions work and how you look at other stuff, sure, they haven't improved how the game is mechanically, I think. But they have improved the engine considerably, right? Like, the way that physics are handled in Starfield is actually quite impressive. There's plenty of videos that you can check out for that. But it's just, for me, it's not necessarily the engine itself. That's fine. It's mostly just the game formula has not changed at all. It's still the exact same thing.
I cannot understand how this is the space adventure Todd Howard has dreamt of making for 20
Because it's not. It really is not. But whatever. What I wanted to say is, it's just they haven't even tried to improve the thing. It's not that they took every aspect of Skyrim and Fallout and just said, okay, so the companions, what are we going to do with them? How are we going to improve on them? They just haven't. They just added the exact same thing. And that's what bothers me the most. It's been like many years and they haven't even tried to make them better.
25 years and cooked in the oven for 8.
But I wanted to try. I really wanted to understand. I wanted to love this troubled game so badly.
And I stayed committed to this relationship for hours and hours and hours, ignoring every possible red flag that came my way. But I can't do it anymore, and I feel like I have to make this video just purely for my own sanity.
No, this one is for me, because this damn space game changed me.
Now, I do want to say that the only mechanic that I think they changed, and I believe it's really nice, is the speech mechanic, like the convincing someone of something. I think it worked very well. It's not like in Skyrim, which is pretty much like a random, random throw based on your speech or something. In here, it feels like you're actually trying to convince the guy, and whether or not it works is actually quite nice. I really like how it works and how it feels.
People often describe Bethesda games as Bethesda games, but what does that even mean?
In 2011, I would have said open world action RPG where you could go anywhere, do anything, good or evil, knight or wizard, but you're definitely going to be a sneak archer like every single time without fail. To me, it meant giant world with total player freedom to do what they wanted to do. Don't like someone? Shoot them in the face. Want someone's stuff? Sneak behind their waist. Want to climb that mountain? Hump it on the face.
Fallout 3 was my first Betty game after convincing my dad that, nah, dude, it's not violent at all. You don't have to be violent. You could choose to be good and talk your way out of every situation. Which was total fucking bullcrap.
Yes, these games might be RPGs, but they heavily lean on the action part of action RPG. Can you sometimes do quests non-violently? Definitely. But more often than not, your to-do list revolves around you killing people and things and spiders and ghouls, and there's usually not a whole lot of wiggle room around that part. A lot of the time, your choices are boiled down to, okay, so do you want to set him on fire first and then shoot him, or just do him raw? If you play Fallout New Vegas, made by Obsidian, those are some RPG-ass RPG choices, where I feel like
But it's still like the New Vegas, even though, like, yeah, a lot of the times you have a lot more choices in certain aspects, it still ends up being the same formula for the most part, you know? So I think even though it is considered better, and in some ways it is, in many ways it is, it is the same formula.
Player has way more freedom to express themselves morally, ethically, whatever in a given quest. But as much as I gush about New Vegas on this channel, there is something missing in this game when compared to Fallout 3.
Atmosphere. I think Bethesda typically crushes that shit.
Even though New Vegas is a much better game mechanically, Betty's world felt a lot more engrossing to explore. Even if a lot of the supposed freedom promised to the player is kind of an illusion. You know, you can't actually kill anyone if they're an essential NPC for a quest line, they just take a nap on the floor. Still, Bethesda does a really great job at making you feel like you're on this grand adventure.
And the
thing, I personally understand why there are essential NPCs. Like, the problem is, you could potentially make a game without essential NPCs, but then you would need potentially two things. One, either a way for the quests and the stories and stuff to progress regardless of people being dead, like maybe in different ways, which is end up being like a lot of work. Or you would have to somehow make sure that the player he's fully aware, but that doing certain actions, there are certain quests and certain quest lines which are going to be locked, and you will not be able to progress that way, right? And the problem is, depending on how you do that, for example, if once you kill the guy, you have like a big pop-up show up, oh, you've fucked up all of these quests now because you won't be able to do them. That completely breaks the immersion. So it's a tough question. So in a way, like, the easy solution is just, well, certain important NPCs. Like, I wouldn't do it with every quest, like small, shitty quests. If you kill a guy, you don't have that quest, whatever, right? It doesn't matter. But for the main quests and for important quests, I understand why you would go for essential
Tracks,
NPCs.
dude, oh my god, the Skyrim soundtrack alone might be up there with Chrono Trigger for like the greatest video game score ever made.
All of these songs make
Definitely.
you feel like you're living inside of an ancient blade made of suede. Oh my god, I'm getting really fucking tired of always coming home to this dude saying some more stupid crap. Hi, I'm Jakey, and Jakey, attorneys at law. Thanks to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. Is your browser
Let's
is a web
skip
browser
this a
for
little
games
bit.
such as my theme and color of the mods menu? The hell with the GX hottest new are you seeing the other browser cookies and bricks also work down below. You'll also corner so below to down to whatever the hell Super NakeyJakey 64 is. He's counting stars. Let's see if he counts all 120 of them. He probably didn't even do TikTok clock yet because he's a worthless piece of shit.
But because Bethesda games are so unique and so dearly beloved by so many fans, people often give them a free pass when it comes to certain issues because, it's a Bethesda game. What are you gonna do?
Issues such as dated melee combat and extremely dated gun combat.
Like, I think he's gonna say even for the time.
Even for the time.
Exactly. Which is fair enough. The melee combat, the thing is, it's very difficult to make a very good melee combat. Like, I think the best melee combat that I know of in this type of games is definitely Kingdom Come Deliverance. It's very good, but the problem with it is that the melee combat ends up being difficult, and ends up being like fair enough. Like, you could make it less difficult, of course, like as you do more damage or whatever. Because obviously Kingdom Come Deliverance goes for a more realistic style, and therefore even fighting 1 versus 2 becomes quite difficult. But yeah, it is, the thing is about a melee combat, to make proper melee combat like that, it's a lot of work. Like for the FPS it's different, like making a proper FPS, it's a lot easier, and there's no reason not to. And Starfield FPS is decent, is actually decently good.
Brain dead enemy AI,
So that way they
clunky
did
UIs
improve.
that always have to be fixed with mods, optimization and performance issues that
The UI thing is purely because it's made to be played on consoles as well. That's the only reason for it. Because if you go back to Oblivion and even further, Morrowind or Daggerfall or whatever, the UI is it's fine. Daggerfall's a bit old, I guess. That's fine. But Morrowind, I think, is a better example, which is it's made for PC, right? Like, sure, they ported it to console later, but it was made for PC. In the case of the games after that, they're all made to be played on consoles as well. Therefore, the UI just goes with it.
always have to
Sadly.
be fixed with mods.
Like, if you take another example, Hogwarts Legacy, which just came out this year, it's quite frustrating that you're only limited to having 4 spells bind at all time for combat, right? And but that's another limitation of just playing it on consoles. Like in PC, we already have mods to actually make it so you can play a lot more stuff. So it's just, that's the issue of wanting to have your game be playable in all platforms.
Enough bugs to fill a fucking terrarium that always have to be fixed.
Because also, it's not only about like controls and stuff, which is the case for Hogwarts Legacy, for the clunkiness and like the big UIs mostly. Because when you're playing on a console, you're playing very far away from it. If you're from your screen, or you're quite far away compared to PC. So you need the things to be a lot bigger. In PC, you don't need like a text to take the whole screen because you see it very well, right? Anyways, I'm gonna go back because I'm not even paying attention.
Clunky UIs that always have to be fixed with mods. Optimization and performance issues that always have to be fixed with mods. Enough bugs to fill a fucking terrarium that always have to be fixed with mods. If any other AAA shooter had the same issues that Fallout 3 had, where the guns barely even functioned and cast bullets from their mouths like spells from a wizard's sleeve, and the game ran at 6 frames per second on the PS3 because, oops, you saved too.
Now, of course, you have to say in Bethesda games, like the combat of the actual FPS of the shooting itself is not the main point of the game. So, fair enough, still.
Many times, don't do that. People would riot. But because these issues are part of a giant package and the appeal is usually greater than a sum of its janky parts, people just kind of go, what are you gonna do?
It's a Bethesda game.
Which, sure, maybe in 2008, maybe some of this stuff could be ignored. but it is not 2008 anymore.
Hell, it is not even 2011, my brother.
In a post-Skyrim world where they have re-released that game so many times and it has sold over 60 million copies now, the whole "but it's a Bethesda game" excuse is, you guessed it,
Shit from a butt.
Fallout 4 was when I could no longer stay blind to Bethesda's strong reluctance to leave the caveman's
Did he go to Bethesda? I don't know if he lives even close to this, but anyways.
Stone
This
Age
is fine.
prehistoric time.
Dude, you could still feel all of the typical creation jank underneath everything.
You still had to edit an INI file to change the FOV or turn off mouse acceleration. The physics were still...
I mean, that's just mostly because they haven't done the UI for it in-game, but it's not supposed to be that way. I guess they don't expect you to go to the files and change it.
tied to the frame rate. The load times could still go on for an eternity. But hey, at least they made guns function like kind of actual guns this time, which should be the bare minimum for a first-person shooter in 2015. Meanwhile, Halo's 14 getting ready for her winter formal. Simple things for a shooter like swapping weapons or throwing grenades felt super unresponsive and wonky.
Especially
like the game
throwing
was
grenades,
constantly
yeah.
fighting you
I do
on
agree with
every
that.
delayed input. And again, 2015. This wasn't like a long time ago. But man, I still played the shit out of this game, and Fallout 4 is the most bare bones RPG. Where Fallout New Vegas went left toward old school traditional Fallout games, Fallout 4 was like, alright, so it's kind of like janky Minecraft but with guns. Which turns out is actually pretty fun. The gameplay loop of exploring a detailed Bethesda world filled with cool stuff, getting loot and supplies from fighting baddies and using VATs, using those supplies to upgrade your guns, working on your settlements with the janky-ass builder that also has to be fixed with mods. It was all pretty fun to me. Objectively, my critic brain is like, yeah, this game has a lot of flaws and the dialogue system really sucks and the perk tree sucks and the role-playing options are
I'm okay with the perk tree. I don't know. Like, sure, you can do it differently, but I'm okay with it.
basically non-existent. And the main story makes like zero sense if you stop and think about it, because if someone was searching for their kidnapped baby son, why would they stop and help a bunch of other families first? And
I mean, yeah. I mean, but that happens in most games. Where in most games I have like a ton of quests overall. It's just like, oh, you've got this main quest, which is supposedly the most important thing to the character in the first place, and then you end up doing a bunch of other stuff and completely forget even about what the main quest is. That is just like thing about games in general.
eat 100 rad roaches. But subjectively, my Bethesda brain is like, ooh, boy, I better scrounge up some more of these desk fans. Even with all its jank, and there is a lot of jank in Fallout 4, like any area downtown just straight up doesn't run well at all. For what it was, I had fun with Fallout 4. But what it was unfortunately a very crystal clear sign that Bethesda was falling behind the times harder than ever before.
Like that's what I said before. It's just that Fallout 4, you can see that it pretty much followed the exact same formula as Skyrim, and there is no innovation or try to improve the systems that already exist. I'm not even saying innovation as in bring new stuff into it. No. I'm saying just take what you already have and just improve it, right? Just make other iterations on it, make it better, and add new stuff to those things that already exist, right? Especially, for example, the companion system. Make it better, make it more interesting. Don't just take the companion system from Skyrim and add it to Fallout 4 and just call it a day, and then just add it to Starfield and call it a day, you know?
Also, I went to kindergarten and first grade here and walked home from school one day and realized we got out early because of 9/11. I don't know why I'm talking about that right now.
I wish I could say I was shocked
Okay, so
when
he is
Fallout
roaming around
76
there.
turned out to be shit from a butt, but dude, I wasn't shocked at all.
Not trying to be on some cool guy shit, but the second I saw the reveal presentation and how it was gonna run on the same janky ass engine that barely manages to work as a single player game, and now it's gonna be multiplayer.
This was like a long shot from them, honestly. I don't really understand why they chose to make it in the same engine. I don't understand. Like this many reasons it should not have done it. Like I don't. It's very difficult to add multiplayer and to do it on a pre-made, like an already made engine that was not thought for multiplayer whatsoever to begin with. Yeah, I don't understand it. So honestly, it's a surprise of how well it works now. You know, with all the updates.
Online, like www.com.
like in my opinion, they should have taken like an engine like Unreal or whatever, and the other thing they should have done, in my opinion, is just give the project to a different company, like, you know, contract another company to do this game for them, similarly as to how they did Elder Scrolls Online, of course. That, in my opinion, that's just how they should have done it. It would have made a lot more sense. They're a company that has never done multiplayer. Why would they change it, right? Like, changing the whole thing, like, none of their employees has ever worked on multiplayer, or very little. Changing that whole setup inside the company, it's a massive undertaking, and I don't understand why they did it. They should have just contracted a different company, make this game for us, we'll supervise it, and that's it, you know. Here are all the assets from Fallout 4, make new ones, improve it, and just, like, I don't know, I personally don't understand why they did it, but hey, you know.
Type online, yeah, Todd, and I'll be a monkey's uncle. Oh, my sweet bimbo, you have returned. You all know this story. Game comes out, one of the worst launches ever. Bug terrarium is like 16 times the detail. Bethesda gets super scummy about refunds, and then gets super scummy about pushing these overly priced microtransactions. Also cheaps out on the canvas bag that's supposed to be included in the collector's edition.
It was awful. Fallout 76 is like the poster child for taking advantage of a devout fan base and releasing a clearly unfinished, faulty product.
I'll see a lot of people online chalk up 76's failure to, well, it wasn't Todd and his main team that made the game. There was their B team, Bethesda Austin, but I'm pretty sure that's not the full story. According to several anonymous devs that worked on 76, as quoted in this Kotaku article that you should check out, people from multiple Bethesda studios worked on this game. Senior staff from Fallout 4's team, staff taken away from the Starfield team, staff taken away from the Redfall team at Arcane, which, Jesus Christ, that's a whole thing on its own.
Yeah, it's a whole thing on its own. Say that, and I've got a video for it, so if you want to check it out.
Cricket and a jockstrap. 76, as described in this article, sounded like a massive live service black hole that no one wanted to touch, because the writing was all over the bug-covered walls that it was never going to end well. But in typical AAA game dev fashion, QA teams get treated like total shit, and upper management ignores issues raised and continue to force everyone to crunch toward this deadline they knew they were never gonna make. And yeah, Todd Howard may have not directed 76, but he's still listed as executive producer. And he's the one that went on the big stage and was like, this is the biggest fucking game we've ever made. It's 16 times awesome. You're all gonna nut. Yo, run that John Denver joint. And the pre-orders go crazy and everyone's hyped out of their minds. And then it comes out and it's atrocious. And suddenly now Todd is all, yeah, we knew it wasn't gonna be like a high Metacritic score game, but you know what? It sold really well. It's not about how it starts, it's about what it becomes. Thank you very much. Yo, run that John Denver joint.
Come on, man.
Yeah, we really don't have to end up at that point, you know? Because it's like, what was it? What was it? I think that, like, I don't remember what game it was that released, or was about to release or whatever. Oh, yeah. It's just a Hello Games announced their new game, Light with No Fire, or Light No Fire. A weird name, to be honest. Difficult to remember. And the guys from Cyberpunk, like, tweeted something along the lines of, like, don't worry, you can always fix it later. Which I find hilarious, but it's just that at this point we have so many examples of games that released badly, you know, Fallout 76, you know, No Man's Sky, Cyberpunk, etc., that all kind of recovered over the time. Like Fallout 76 is actually a decent game now, you know. No Man's Sky it's a very good game now, and Cyberpunk is an awesome game now as well. So it's just like I feel like a lot of big companies are going to start thinking, you know, whatever, we can always fix it later. But it's like, don't start falling onto that thing, that new way of making games, I guess. It just don't do it, please. It would be so annoying if this just keeps happening.
According to that same article, Todd was very adamant on the whole no NPCs feature, no matter how much the dev team pleaded that it was an insane choice for Bethesda.
It was an insane choice for Bethesda, yeah. And it's just that, like, I don't disagree on the idea of making a multiplayer without NPCs. Like, you know, PAX Day is doing it, and you've got a lot of other MMO survival type games that do it as well, which work, you know. But the thing is, in that case, you need to have a lot of mechanics and a lot of stuff that allows the players to interact with each other that create content or interesting behaviors, right? But in Fallout 76, you didn't have that whatsoever. So it just was, what are you going to do? Just like randomly explore with no purpose, right? So it's not that you can't do it. It's just that it was definitely not done for that, wasn't prepared for that whatsoever.
You know, the studio most closely associated with NPCs, but also maybe Todd isn't the main bad guy responsible, you know? Maybe he was just under a lot of pressure from big money investors at parent company ZeniMax to make a live service cash cow that would exploit fans and inevitably make a ton of money.
I don't know all the details, but there's enough breadcrumbs to make it insane to me that someone along the food chain with authority, whether Todd or otherwise, didn't stop and adamantly scream,
"Hey, let's maybe delay this game permanently."
But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. Regardless of whose fault 76 was, the damage was done and the pressure was on. After an underwhelming and outdated Fallout 4 and an
I hate that he put that clip multiple times. Just I wonder people like rage on other stuff, which is like the company made a game, right? And then you're trashing like a shop that sells the game. Like the shop has nothing to do with the game. Don't trash it. That's just dumb.
Underbaked and severely malnourished Fallout 76, Bethesda really needed to reach for the Skyrim once again and dunk another classic into our laps. But Todd, he don't play basketball.
he plays chess.
I was the kid. I was writing games when I was, 12, whatever. And the other kids in the block would say, I'm going to play quarterback for the Cowboys. And I'd be like, I'm going to make video games and everyone's going to play them. Like, you dork. Go back to the chess club. Who's laughing now? Yes, I was in the chess club.
It's hard not to like Todd Howard. He has this Michael Scott type charisma that's weirdly hard to resist.
And I find his story of repeatedly applying to Bethesda only to be rejected over and over really inspiring.
Because once he got his leather jacket ass wearing through that door, he would direct Morrowind, executive produce Oblivion, direct both Fallout 3 and Skyrim. Love him or hate him, the man's resume speaks for itself. And good God, would you look at that jacket. For being considered AAA, Bethesda is not a very big studio. Around 100 people made Skyrim, and they currently only employ like 420 people across all of
compared to
their
other
studios.
companies.
For comparison, at least
very big.
1,000 people worked on GTA 5 before its release, and 6,000 different people have worked on it since, which is crazy to me considering how slow GTA Online still is.
On the one hand, I think it's really impressive that Bethesda is
I don't know what
much
that is.
smaller than other big-name studios because it means they must have some really powerful paladins over there casting some serious buffs.
But also, when you're making that AAA money and your games continue to come out janky as shit,
Maybe hire some more fucking people to make your games actually function properly when you sell them for $70.
one source from that same
Especially because
article
they do
said
have money
Bethesda
now,
is a
right?
big company that thinks it's a small company with a mentality of, well, this worked in the 90s, so we're just gonna keep doing it. I mean, yeah, after playing Starfield, that's definitely what it feels like. Boy, I'll tell you what, when I booted that sumbitch up, it was like seeing an X for the first time in 8 years, a poorly optimized X who struggles to have human-like facial expressions. Starfield isn't even just Skyrim again, but in space, which was always Todd's elevator pitch. No, it would be such an improvement if it was. But no, this is not a Bethesda game based on the definition the dumbass by the piano gave
Exactly,
earlier.
yeah,
That
based on the things
signature
I said.
Bethesda open world exploration and sense of scale and freedom and that feeling of, ooh, there's something
Yeah,
interesting.
it is funny because even though it's technically the biggest game they ever had in terms of the amount of places you can be, the amount of terrain that you can walk, you don't feel the scale whatsoever because you're constantly just teleporting everywhere.
Around every corner.
Gone.
But Jarbo! There's like 1,000 planets. How can it get any more open world than that? Yeah, and you want to know what you do on 99% of those 1,000 planets?
This,
Nothing.
you walk and walk and sprint and jump and jetpack jump and get really good at watching your O2 sprint meter go up and down and up and down. There is no rover
so
to
true,
drive. There is no ship to fly. You just walk and walk and walk until you get to the most copy-pasted structure that you have already seen
That's
a bunch
exactly
of
what
times.
I said
Starfield
before.
is the exploration equivalent.
It like it could have been such a good thing. Like, I don't know, just add vehicles, right? And just, I don't know. In my opinion, they've done what they should have done is just spend a bunch of time for the engine to be able to have bigger terrains, right? Because obviously, if you would give a vehicle to the current terrain system, you would end up reaching the limit very, very fast. So just work on the engine to allow for bigger areas, very big areas, right? So whenever you land on a planet, you don't feel like you have to go back to the ship, to go back to your orbit, to then go back somewhere else with your ship. It's just dumb, right? So that you could actually just traverse around the planet in a vehicle, and then just give a vehicle, so suddenly it feels slightly different. Add slight mechanics to the vehicle, like combat and stuff like that, so you might be getting chased by other enemies in vehicles, right? Make it actually interesting. It could have been so good and end up being exactly what he says, which is watching your O2 meter.
Of holding the Player 2 controller that isn't actually plugged in. It is the illusion of planetary exploration, duct taped together by 1,000 loading screens and a strong desire to waste so much of your time.
And the thing is, it works, the exploration, right? The scanning of the locations and so on works exactly the same as No Man's Sky. It's just that No Man's Sky does it a lot better, since you are actually exploring freely without any loading screen, without anything, you know.
Talk about fast travel. Can you say fast travel? Fast travel. Can you say loading screen? Loading screen. Loading screen. Loading screen before fast travel? After fast travel. Loading screen. Fast traveling to complete a quest. Fast traveling to start a quest. That's so silly. Loading screen. Peekaboo, loading screen. Can you say fast travel? Wasting your time? No. Wasting my time? Yes. 2023? Bethesda released this in 2023. Oh no!
It is exactly like that.
Can you say leather jacket?
In other Bethesda games, you wanted to walk to your destinations because fast traveling meant you might miss out on some neat dungeon or cool...
Exactly, this is what I mentioned before, like, you wouldn't fast travel because on the path to somewhere else, unless you've played a lot of the game already and you know, like, you've already done that trip multiple times, you would actually just want to walk because you would end up finding stuff on your way. But now it's just completely gone.
Unique structure or wacky enemy along the way.
Not only is fast travel highly recommended whenever possible in Starfield, but it is straight up required.
You cannot fly your ship from planet to planet or even on a single planet. You can enter your ship with a nice loading screen and then sit in your pilot's chair with a nice unskippable animation and then take off with another nice loading screen and then pick your destination from space and fast travel there with another loading screen and then click on the planet to land with another loading screen. Or if your destination is in space, do another unskippable animation to dock your ship followed by another immediate loading screen. But hopefully, if you've already discovered the specific location you want to go to, you can just fast travel straight there. The second I realized I was avoiding my ship whenever possible, you know, the central core part of a space exploration game.
This is the thing, they removed, this is like the phrase I tend to use as well. It's like they removed space from a space game. You know, they removed what a space game is by just making the traveling stupid and boring. It makes no sense.
It was over. The most heartbreaking part is that the shipbuilder is fucking amazing. It's like
nice,
virtual
it's
Legos.
fun.
It is by far the best new thing Bethesda did with this game. But where do you get to fly your ship that you just lovingly spent 3 hours making? In orbit! Yay!
Let's fucking go!
If you want to see your magnificent creation actually move around, then fast travel on up to space and float around fighting bad guys and running away from cops with the awful bounty system, which I
we'll get to later. I will spend way too much time talking about that later. What's really weird is that between the different elements you can mine on planets and the different things you can prioritize within the shipbuilder, there's enough breadcrumbs here to assume that at one point Starfield was probably more of a survival type space game, meaning that landing on a planet maybe served more of a purpose than just...
Yeah, and this is the thing. In my opinion, what they should have done is, it's a space game. Therefore, we change the formula and we make the game differently. This is why when I released the video like a while ago now, when I talked about my expectations of Starfield, I talked about why I thought that the game would take a completely different direction. Why I thought that this game was going to be more focused, as in, for me, I thought they wouldn't allow the player to fly their own ship. And it would rather be a game about doing missions inside of space stations, inside, inside of big ships, and on the surface of planets and moons, but not actual. It wouldn't be focused on the actual flying of ships, but rather about on your traditional Bethesda type experience, but just made. In a space setting and where everything happens inside of big space stations, big stuff, and so on. Because it would fit the Bethesda formula a lot more, they ended up having this kind of, oh yeah, you can actually fly your ship, go to all these planets, blah, blah, blah. But then they removed the key aspect of these space traveling. It's weird.
Wandering around aimlessly. Maybe the temperature changes in extreme conditions actually mattered more than they currently do, which is like, not really at all. The shipbuilder even has options to upgrade the fuel tanks or grav drives.
Yeah, this is the thing as well. Like, whenever you get to a certain point, it tells you like your toxic shield is depleted or something. And I'm like, okay, I don't even know what. Does it matter? Like, I feel like it doesn't matter at all. Like, it's depleted, sure. First of all, I don't know how to recharge it. That's the first thing, unless I go back inside my ship or inside something. And I don't even know if it matters at all. It's just weird. So it does feel like maybe they were trying to do something else with it, and it ended up being different. I think it was already talked about that apparently. Here, for example, you have like your jump range and you've got your fuel capacity and all of that. And apparently, it used to be that fuel would actually deplete. So therefore, you could have like a lot of fuel, and then it would allow you to actually travel from places, and then fuel would deplete. And you would have to refuel, and so on. So suddenly, like fuel tanks would actually be useful for some stuff. And now fuel tanks have just become how far you can jump, I guess. In a kind of simulated how many space jumps you can do based on your jump range as well. And that's basically it. It's just like another stat, which has no impact really. So it's just, yeah, I don't know. It feels like you
system.
Probably
but
was
if you don't
something
upgrade
else.
those things, that's fine too. You'll just have to fast travel to a closer system first, and then fast travel to the one you actually want to go to. So upgrading that stuff in your ship just saves you from seeing 2 loading screens, and now you only see 1. How is this game real?
Starfield has 1,000 planets.
So that when you think about
I wish
it,
it had like 5.
Yeah, not every planet in real life space would have a bunch of cool stuff on it either.
Yeah, duh. But that's not my point.
My point is that this is not really a good illusion of anything other than the unfortunate passage of time. No Man's Sky can also have some boring-ass procedurally generated planets. But you know what? At least you can actually fly to them. Playing Starfield is like watching.
And not just that, you can take your ship and instead of walking by the ship, I mean, now you even have vehicles, but even back then, you could at least take your ship and actually just skip through the surface, like go around, like on the surface, right? Instead of having to go out of it on a loading screen and then come back into the planet again on a loading screen.
Pull a rabbit out of a hat, but every time he's about to do it, he's like, no, you gotta close your eyes while I do it though. But what about I'm not a Best Buy Geek Squad looking ass. Don't say I am. Starfield may have been made with the shiny new Creation Engine 2, but You ain't fooling anyone with that 2, Todd. You may have slapped a spoiler on it, but it's still a fucking Geo Metro. I'm still editing an INI file just to change the FOV or turn off mouse acceleration to make aiming feel better. I'm still clicking on doors and seeing that all too familiar fade out loading screen all the time.
Why did you not optimize this game for PC?
We did. It's running great. It is a next-gen PC game. We really do push the technology, so you may need to upgrade your PC for this game, but it's got a lot of great stuff going on in it, and the fans are responding awesome.
All right, Todd, I upgraded my PC. But I still can't turn on HDR or even mess with the brightness settings, even though the Xbox version already has HDR. And to get a decent frame rate, I have to use upscaling, but I have an NVIDIA card and you only have FSR supported with no DLSS. Oh, someone already modded DLSS into the game within like a couple days. Oh, programmers are making comprehensive breakdowns on Reddit detailing just how poorly optimized the game is.
Nah, if Todd said it's optimized, then it's probably optimized. I believe him. I will follow my notable brother into the pearly gates of Sovngarde and finally graze my hand upon that holy leather.
Breaking news, as of November 15th, Bethesda is finally patching Starfield, adding an FOV slider, poorly implemented HDR, and much needed DLSS support. Along with clear massive performance gains for both CPU and GPU areas, it's almost as if the game did in fact launch very unoptimized. The timing couldn't be better, 2 months after everyone already stopped playing it.
This game hurts my stupid giant head. I can't understand it. I can't seem to do anything right after experiencing this so-called game. Oh my god, I didn't even bring that up yet. God damn it.
In Starfield, you can build settlements, and you have more freedom than ever with the builder, but there's not a whole lot of motivators to interact with it other than harvesting resources from a planet largely void of life. Add that to the super confusing structure of actually trying to connect your settlements across star systems and all the fast travel between your ship cargo and your inventory and getting over encumbered and In Fallout 4, it wasn't fun because the builder was good. Hell no. It's janky as hell and super frustrating. But it was fun because you were bringing life back into the apocalypse and building off of really cool existing unique structures so that the dumbass settlers could take back the land. But all of that was powered by the initial core desire of actually wanting to go out and explore and shoot stuff.
Oh yeah, that's right. You shoot guns in this game. Starfield also has guns.
Okay, well, I feel like personally the guns are decent.
Starfield has perks just like Fallout 4, and one of those perks is called Rapid Reload, and it does exactly what you think it would do. It makes your reloads faster.
At least that's what it should do. I'm a gamer. I like going fast. F it, throw it on, Todd. Send me the bill. It's on the house.
Days later, I'm playing the game and I throw my last grenade. I reload my gun, and it's way faster than usual. What's going on here? Come to find out, that perk hasn't worked the entire time I've had it, because evidently, if I have any sort of throwable equipped rapid reload, just doesn't work. I thought maybe I was alone, but nope. I looked it up, and apparently it's a common bug that at least as of November 15th
in any way related to
Also,
grenades?
You know that text that appears at the top of the screen in Bethesda games when you're doing stealth that says hidden? Not only does this 2023 game use the same bare bones stealth mechanics that are like 20 years old at this point, seeing that text up top, that's a perk now. And you can spend another whole ass perk point, and I quote, to upgrade this.
I agree that this is dumb. Like, I like the way that it works. I kind of like the way the skill system works in the sense that you unlock that you get your upgrades in specific skills by actually doing quote unquote small quests, doing specific things, like kind of using what you're improving, right? I think it's nice. It's okay. It's like different, I guess. It's nice, but it's true that locking a lot of actual like mechanics behind these things, behind skills, is dumb. Like, you can't even stealth without getting the first perk on this list of things. You know, it's so dumb.
Which just shows you if you're being close to being detected.
Like, before that, it only shows hidden or not hidden, basically, or I don't know what the word is, but whatever. It just. And I don't know. You can't even. There's other things you can't do before. You can't, like, run slide, for example. You can't use jetpacks, for example. It's just like there's all these things which make the game a lot better if you have them, which are locked behind skills, which is kind of weird in my opinion.
Which is basically exactly what the eye reticle thing already did in Skyrim.
Well, this is way better
Pretty
and
much,
worth
yeah.
spending the point, trust me.
The gunplay in Starfield is an improvement over Fallout 4, but that's like saying a bicycle is an improvement over a Razor scooter. It's still not an AK-47. The guns generally work a bit better with less
It's
delay.
fine in
You're
my
a
opinion.
bit more agile. You have a jetpack, which sometimes that can be fun. But as a shooter, in 2023, this game is still getting lapped by games from 2012. Hell, games from 2007. 2004. I'm serious. Sit down, play Starfield for an hour, and then go boot up Far Cry 3 or BioShock or Call of Duty 4 or any game in the orange box, and then go back to Starfield and tell me how it feels. Especially on controller, it just feels wrong. Fallout 4's shooting was barely serviceable only because of everything that surrounded it. It worked good enough because you got to explore a cool map and frequently fight cool, varied enemies using VATS. In Starfield, the cool map is gone, the enemies are sometimes varied, but it is predominantly brain-dead humanoid space pirates that will just stand there and let you shoot them. And VATS doesn't exist anymore, so the act of shooting someone needed to feel really, really good. Throw in the still clunky melee combat, the super unintuitive UI of menus inside of menus, and the D-pad weapon swapping from Fallout 4 because apparently having a weapon wheel might make the creation engine explode, and what you have is a worse version of something that you have already played.
8 years ago. All right, so what about quests? Bethesda has always been so strongly associated with NPCs and quests.
Here's an example of the most common basic-ass type of quest in Skyrim. Hey, can you go to this dungeon and kill a bad guy? All right, sounds good. You know what? I'm even just gonna walk over there because it's not that far. Whoa, what's this? A dragon? In this economy? Well, I mean, I'm here. I may as well ladder stall tomahawk the dragon real quick. All right, that's done. What was I doing? Oh, right, the dungeon. Oh, well, hold on a second. There's a cave right here. I mean, I'm here.
That's what I mean. That's what I've said at the beginning. It says they removed all of this from the game, so the quests are still the same. It's just that you don't stumble upon anything on your way there.
20 minutes later.
All right, that was a pretty cool cave, and I feel like I got some cool shit out of that. Anyways, the dungeon. All right, let me just stealth archer these freaks real quick, get some loot. Okay, I'm done. That was a pretty enjoyable, fun hour of gameplay I just got to experience. Here's an example of the most common basic-ass type of quest in Starfield. Hey, we lost our scientist friends. Can you go find him? We don't know where he is because we don't have any walkie-talkies or email or texting or cell phones in this planet, in this world. Yeah, sure, I guess. All right. Damn. He's kind of out there. Whatever. I'm sure some cool stuff will happen along the way.
5 minutes later.
Man, I sure am getting pretty good at sprinting and jetpacking, and you know, I bet the cave will have like a cool monster in it or something once I get there. Oh, it's literally just you. Now I have to take you back with me? Well, okay, apparently I can just fast travel back, but I don't take you with me. So I just went to tell you that your friends are looking for you, and now you're finding your own way back and going back. So why the hell did I even need to come find you in the first place? What the hell even is this game, dude? I shit you not, that type of quest pops up.
That is like, yeah. That is the quote unquote procedural quests that they have, and they're all the exact same. And because the outpost that you find the quest is not interesting, and because the cave or the outpost that you find the other guy is not interesting, then the whole thing is not interesting.
Up all
And
the
that's
time.
what I said, you do
Even
one
if
or
it is
two
an
and then you're
Operation
done.
Go Rescue Baby Scientist, it is something similarly mindless and uninspired. A lot of quests in Starfield just play out as a game of fast travel telephone, where you talk to one person and they're like, hey, go tell this person in another galaxy that I said this. And you're like, okay, and you go through several fast travel loading screens and land at a place and go through another loading screen and then walk through a city and get to another place and talk to them. And then you finally talk to the person and they're like, well, tell them that I said this. And so you do all of that again, and you go through all the fast travel loading screens and the loading screens and the entering building loading screens, and you're like, all right, well, they said this. And it's like, Is this what we're doing now? Like, if I'm like 8 years old and you told me, like, take all the graphics and stuff away that, like, hey, this is what video games are gonna be like, I'd be like, what the fuck? And this game is not a super in-depth choice, complex, branching, narrative, rich dialogue CRPG. Like, I don't expect that from Bethesda, and that's fine, I never have. But if you're not that, and you're also not successfully doing the thing that largely defines your games, aka satisfying and rewarding open world exploration, then what the hell even are you? Like, I don't know what genre I would even call this game. Oh no, I'm being... Hold up, we're here to collect on a bounty. Oh man, we're gonna talk about the bounty in a bit. That's really funny timing. All right, well, sorry, gaming. Before the game came out, Phil Spencer, Xbox guy, said something along the lines of, I don't remember exactly, but it was like, I played it so many hours, whatever. I'm going full space pirate.
And I got excited when I heard this because I love game systems that let you fuck around and find out.
I'm sure some of you remember how I obsessed over the wanted bounty system in Red Dead 2 because I just love pushing things and trying to understand how they mechanically work.
Wait, what happened with the sound? Wait, what happened with the sound? Give me a second. What happened with the sound? I'm confused. Alright, let me reload.
Bounty system in Red Dead 2 because I just love pushing things and trying to understand how they mechanically work.
Wait, you're telling me that the video's been muted? Oh, was it like... Oh, God damn it.
But I noticed that a lot of the
So yeah, so he probably used
it was a total bloodbath. Like, I killed so many dudes and I racked up such a high bounty. But I noticed that a lot of the named NPCs wouldn't actually die when I shot them, which was a bit concerning, but I just kept on fighting. And eventually I fought my way all the way into the cockpit, and there was a second where I was like, oh shit, am I about to hijack this police ship and get the fuck out of here? Nope. Can't fly this ship. And before people go in the comments and say, oh, it's because you got to upgrade your pilot license thing. Nope. You still can't fly it. You can't fly this ship, or a whole lot of other ships for that matter, no matter what. Just like
some you can,
a lot of NPCs,
fair enough.
No matter what, because Bethesda wants you to do space their way.
This ship bullship isn't exclusive to just that quest either.
If you've played the game, you know that a lot of the times when you land on a planet, another ship will coincidentally land around the same time, and you can see them and run over there and fight them. And you would assume, I just killed all these pirates. All right, logical next step. Loot the ship, take the ship. But a lot of the time, not every time, but a lot of the time,
it just flies away.
It just wouldn't let me. Most of the time I just saw this prompt and I didn't know why. So that bounty I mentioned during the shootout with the space cops, yeah, it's very easy to quickly rack up a very high bounty in this game. And whenever you travel to a planet that has a major city, they do a forced contraband scan on your ship before you can land.
Do I even like video games anymore?
They also check to see if you have a bounty in that star system. Contraband can be hidden to help avoid detection on the scan, but it requires having hidden cargo space on your ship.
Why am I here? Why am I doing any of this?
Normal items that you can pickpocket or steal aren't marked as contraband, but they are marked as stolen items, and they have this little red icon, but contraband items always have this orange icon because it means they're extra illegal.
Help me.
So let's start here. Say you want to be a grimy little space thief, so you're constantly pickpocketing and stealing stuff wherever you go. In typical Bethesda fashion, a lot of the time, if you're sneaking and stealing, you won't get caught stealing. Hope you spent the perk point on the stealth thing, but oops, sometimes you just do get detected, even if no one is around to witness you murder that person except that person, or no one is around to witness you steal that cup except that cup. Suddenly, everyone in the galaxy Foxy knows that it was specifically you that stole that cup, even though apparently cell phones or email or fax machines or texting don't exist based on the context of most of our fucking quest objectives.
I don't want to do this anymore. Please let me go.
So now you have a bounty in that star system, and then you're like, well, if I already have the bounty, then I guess I'll just keep doing it, and if anyone gets in my way, I'll shoot him, because I'm a freak. That's my identity now. I'm a freak. I wasn't born this way, but I was molded by Todd and his leather. So you're traveling around, stealing stuff from all these planets, trying to have a grand old time, and your bounty is getting pretty stacked. But oh shit, there's a main story mission in a city that you haven't been to yet, in a star system that you have that giant bounty in. You get scanned, the cops are pissed. You can choose to fight them off and grab drive fast travel away, but if you want to ever enter that city, you're gonna have to do something about that bounty. So you warp back, and this time you're like, all right, well, I can't pay the bounty because it's insane, so I guess take me to jail. And when you go to jail in this game, the cops will not only remove every single item from your inventory that was ever stolen, which slowly lists away at the top of the screen one by one, which this is never explained in the game as like some lore accurate space technology that tracks ownership. It's just magic where a cop 4 planets away knows
but that
stole this
happens. The same thing happens.
But your punishment for jail time is an XP debt. It will never lower your current level, but it will erase any current XP progress that you've made towards leveling up, and potentially even put you into the negative as well, if it's high enough.
Which it will be.
This is kind of like how jail time in Oblivion could randomly lower some of your skills. Starfield says, hey, we know we can't actually force the player to sit in a jail cell, but we want there to be some sort of consequence for it being bad. And part of me is like, damn, that's actually kind of interesting and creative, except leveling up takes a long ass time in this game. For example, to level from level 10 to level 11, it's around 900 XP, and it only gets exponentially more grindy the higher you get. So if you have a high bounty...
The thing about this game as well is that it seems, as they've mentioned many times, the game has been thought out to be played for a long time. So everything that in a game would usually take a certain amount of time, they say, oh, because you're going to play it for a long time, we make it a lot longer. And that goes from leveling up. Leveling up, instead of taking the usual amount of time or what you would expect it to take, it takes longer. And the kind of interesting location, interesting quest, or the interesting events that might appear whenever you travel somewhere, whenever you go land on a planet and something appears or whatever, instead of having those things happen somewhat often, they happened pretty much never, and they just replace it with a run-of-the-mill shitty event that you see them all the time. And the reason for it is that, again, they are spacing them out a lot more than they usually would, just because they expect you to be playing this game for so long. And that goes also with their idea of the new game plus. It's like that came with it. It's like, what are we going to do? You're going to keep playing? Oh, you want to play more? So it's just like, oh, you actually just start again from scratch, which is kind of weird. Honestly, I don't know if I really like the new game plus system that they put in. So it's just, I feel like the whole thing is thought out with it. And you've got these contracts that you go to like a kiosk of some kind, and you've got all of these repeatable quests, like these random generated quests, which are pretty much simple objectives with nothing else in it. I feel like the whole game is thrown out that way, and therefore whenever you have like a normal session of like a full playthrough that would normally be a full playthrough of Skyrim or whatever, you have a lot less interesting stuff happening to you because the game somehow is thought out that you would actually spend a lot longer playing the game. So it's just, I don't know. It's weird.
Hard to get. You will be in this much debt. Have fun crawling out of that hole, you filthy little pirate bitch. It's also worth noting that much like a lot of stuff in this game, this mechanic is barely explained at all, and the only way to realize that you are in XP debt or track it is to look at the status screen.
I understand having some sort of punishment for doing something bad and getting caught. I really do.
But when leveling is this grindy, and the perks you get from leveling up don't actually work, or just straight up
pretty much nothing,
and the game requires you to be scanned in order to land on certain planets, because you can't actually just fucking fly the ship to the planet in this goddamn space game. Being punished this harshly for choosing a playstyle that is supposed to be viable in this so-called RPG is just super disappointing.
Starfield would be a disappointment regardless of whatever year it came out, but unfortunately for Bethesda, 2023 was obscenely stacked with fantastic games in each of those specific genres that Starfield takes turns cosplaying as.
It is an open world exploration game with little to no actual meaningful exploration. It is a glorified looter shooter that is still catching up to games that are now old enough to
it's not even a glorified looter shooter. It is a looter shooter because the weapons that you can access like level up with you. So like at the beginning of the game you can't actually get certain types of weapons. It's only while you level up and where you end up like facing stronger enemies, like basically the same enemy but with a different name. That's when you'll be able to start getting better weapons, which is again the exact same thing. It's the same weapon but with a different name, which means that it does a bit more damage. So it is technically also a looter shooter. Like you don't have this thing that you had in Skyrim, which is like if you do a specific quest and find this legendary weapon, that legendary weapon is good from the get-go, and even at the end of your playthrough, that weapon is still gonna be good in that specific area that weapon is, right? And this doesn't happen in this game. If you find a legendary weapon at the beginning of the game, a little bit later you'll find a common weapon that is going to be better than this one once you leveled up enough. Like
high school. And it is a role-playing game with so
it is a looter shooter in that way.
To actually play and relationships to engage with.
I really want to like this game. I am always going to cheer for Todd and Bethesda because they have given me so many amazing, memorable experiences for the past 20 years that have largely influenced my love for gaming. I want the next Elder Scrolls game to knock it out of the park. I will always root for anyone trying to make an ambitious
I hope
video.
they learned the
But
lesson.
after seeing what Bethesda
sure.
has put out over the last decade, I just couldn't contain these thoughts and feelings any longer.
I hope this video was at least kind of interesting, or at the very least digestible in a way that sort of made sense, even though I feel like I should be in the psych ward. If you can still see me right now, thank you so much for watching my video, and I'll see you next time. This is actually my off-road ball because when I was filming the campfire scenes, my dumbass didn't realize that a yoga ball that I've been using for like 6 years shouldn't go out in the woods where there's like prickly goat head things, and I popped a bunch of holes in it. But fortunately my sister, the same one that I stole the original yoga ball from, had another gray yoga ball that's like got a bunch
Anyways, yeah, so that's basically it. Yeah, I really do hope that for their next game, for Elder Scrolls 6, they're gonna rethink the whole thing from scratch, like for real. Because yeah, like Starfield was, even though I played it for a decent amount of hours, it's still like a quite disappointing game. It really is. Especially, it's just dumb because when you think of space, it's kind of like, oh, Starfield is a space game, but actually don't expect anything you would find usually in space games in this game. Like, you won't have any of that, actually, you know? It's weird. Like, it's very, like, I don't understand what they did, to be honest. But anyways, yeah, that was it. Hope you liked it. Make sure to subscribe to NakeyJakey. He makes great videos. And I guess subscribe to me as well if you find it enjoyable. And thanks for watching, and see you next time. Bye-bye.